What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Inside Inter Miami, the Miami Herald show about the Inter Miami Football Club. Back, Andre Fernandez, your host here with Michelle Kaufman, our Inter Miami beat writer. Exciting week. We're in the middle of a pretty crucial two-game stretch for different reasons, which has started positively for this team. They come out with a big win on the road in front of 62,000 plus at the Cleveland Browns Stadium. They beat the Columbus Crew, rival in the Eastern Conference that was leading the Eastern Conference going into that game. And now Miami creeping back up to the top of the table. We have they will go over how they beat the Columbus Crew. Basically, one goal from Ben-Ha Kremasky was enough. The defense played great. Ustadi came up huge in goal as usual, as he's been doing. We'll see some reaction from Ben-Ha about the game. A little bit about talking about Lionel Messi, who did play in this game as well. Miami stands now as the only unbeaten team in the league. The only thing is, they've only played 8 matches, where everyone else pretty much played one more than they have. That's because of their Champions Cup commitments and so forth. But they're creeping back up. They're at 18 points right now, so we'll go over all of that. And the big challenge next, as they hop on a plane and get on that long flight, longest flight in the MLS, to go from down in South Florida all the way to Vancouver for this big first leg of the semifinal round of the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Vancouver, as we know, leading the Western Conference, right, leading everything in the MLS right now. They are currently would be the Supporters Shield winner if the season ended today, but obviously a long way to go. But they're really scoring at a high clip, 17 goals plus 11 goal differential. We'll get into all of that and the big challenge that they're facing. And then, of course, another quick turnaround. They come home to play Dallas in league play right after that. So we'll have all of that for you. But let's start with that big win. It was a crucial win. I think in the long term, you're going to look back and say that was a big 3 points for this team to get, Michelle, especially against a team like the Crew that you can't never take lightly because they're so well coached. And we saw it, 1-0 to prevail like that.
Yeah, I mean that was a game that we said that was a dangerous game. That was
Yeah.
a very, very dangerous game. They had 62,000 people. It was in Cleveland. So, there were a lot of Miami fans there, but there were a lot of Ohioans who were there getting a chance to see the Crew for the first time and obviously seeing Lionel Messi and all of his famous teammates. So the atmosphere was really big for that game. And it was not easy. As we had said before, that was not going to be an easy game. It never is against Columbus. And the goal came from not whom you might expect. In fact, before the game, I saw that there were some people on social media when the lineups came out, there were some people complaining. Why start Ben-Ha Kremashy in such a critical game? There were some fans who were questioning that move, but he obviously prove them wrong, anyone who thought that, because he came up with the only goal of the game on a header, kind of a diving header in the 30th minute off a really nice cross. The play started with Luis Suarez. I know that he hasn't been as goal productive in the past few games, but he did provide the pass to Wygant, to Cello, who then made a beautiful cross into the front of the goal section, and that is where Ben-Ha was waiting. So it was a beautiful goal by Ben-Ha. Not beautiful in the sense of style, but it was very opportunistic, and it was exactly what they needed, and it turned out to be the only goal of the game. And that was a very critical win for them because they got 3 points. They are really just on the cusp of being on top of the league, like you said, because they've only played 8 games instead of 9. They're just 1 point back at 18 points. And the other 2 teams on top, Charlotte and Cincinnati, have 19 points. But Miami overall is still undefeated, but Ben-Ha came up big. The young kid, that's the thing about this team. Everyone talks about the big stars, but the young kids, they do come up big. We've talked about Noah Allen. Ben-Ha Kremashy now scores the only goal against Columbus. And what did he have to say today after the game?
Sí, sí, estamos en un buen momento, siempre podemos mejorar, siempre hay cosas que podemos hacer mejor, pero por ahora estamos muy contentos con cómo nos está yendo. Y nada, hoy capaz no fue nuestro mejor juego, ¿no? Pudimos jugar un poco mejor, tener más la posición, pero sabemos que Colombo es un equipo que tiene la pelota mucho, pero bueno, obviamente nosotros pudimos mantener el resultado.
Yeah, he says there that, maybe we didn't play our best, but we were able to pull out the result, and that was the most important thing. They knew it was going to be a tough game. And again, sometimes championship teams in every sport, the teams that sometimes win everything at the end are teams that find a way to win even when they're not playing at their best. So this is a team that remains unbeaten, even though, as we know, through the 8 games, some of them have been prettier than others. Some of the games they've played better, they've scored more, they've looked more, exciting and stylistic, but they still managed to not lose. So their only loss, really was in the Champions League game. They have not lost in league yet. And even though when they don't play great offensively, they still are finding a way to win. And by the way, the defense, a clean sheet against the Columbus Crew, that's not an easy feat. And so Ustari, it's, making things tougher for Drake Callender. There's a real battle at that position because how can you bench a guy when he's, holding teams to shutouts and to 1 goal? He's really done a very good job coming up with some big plays. And then Benha was also asked about Messi. Someone from the Columbus media asked him about, how does it feel that when you go on the road, so many people are there to see Messi, and what does that feel like? So let's see, what did he have to say about being Messi's teammate?
I mean, he's the greatest player to ever play the sport, and I think that's why he attracts so many people to come watch him. He's a great player. I don't know how else to describe it, but he moves worlds. So we're super happy to have him on our side.
You had over 60,000 in Chicago last week, 60,000 here this week. For the rest of the team, is that a lot of pressure, or do you guys relish playing in front of those large crowds?
No, obviously we like it because a lot of people come to support us because of the players that we have. So we're playing away, but sometimes we even feel at home. But yeah, once we're in there, we just try to focus on what we have to do and what the coach is asking for us. So I think everything just goes away in the moment, and we just focus on our game.
So there you go. He just said they're they sometimes feel at home when they're on the road. I don't think they're going to get that in Vancouver, although there will be a lot of fans for Messi. And when we talk about Vancouver, this is, well, we'll talk about later. Let's focus on where they are right now, and then let's jump to Vancouver.
Yeah.
Because Vancouver is going to be a very spicy game, in addition to being a really good game against right now the team with the top record in the whole league. They are the surprise of MLS. It's going to be a very high profile game against a very, very good team, and a team that also was, their fans were not happy with Lionel Messi and last year, because not only did he not play in that game, Sergio Busquets did not travel, and Luis Suarez also did not travel. So they bought 55,000 tickets last year, and they didn't get to see 3 of the 4 big players. So they were not happy about that, even though they should have been happy, because that would have meant a better chance for Vancouver to win.
Yeah.
But anyway, going back to where they are right now after that Columbus win.
Yeah, I was going to say the thing with this team right now that it maybe, I don't know if worrisome is too much of a extreme of a word, but they're having trouble scoring. And we've talked a little bit about teams packing
trouble scoring.
Teams packing the middle a little bit. I mean, that's, the Toronto game, I don't know if I judge them too harsh on that one. They had 2 that got wiped out for different reasons. Maybe they could have won that game 2-1, 3-1, whatever it would have ended up being. But the Chicago game, I know they're coming off the rough turnaround, but looked kind of lackluster. They capitalized on the one chance against Columbus, but again, not a lot of firepower.
Yeah, the goal they got,
either.
the goal,
Toronto.
yeah, the one game, right, and the one goal they got from Benha, like I said before, it was an opportunistic goal, but it wasn't exactly like a great, well executed run of play. It was it was a good pass by Luis Suarez. It was a nice cross from Marcelo Whitecaps. But at the end of the day, yes, at the end of the day, the last 3 games, they scored 1 goal against Toronto, which was the worst team in the league at that point in the East. And then, on record anyway, maybe not, but on paper, they were the lowest team in the East. 1 goal against them, 0 goals against Chicago, 1 opportunistic goal against the Crew. So yeah, they are still unbeaten, and we don't want to say that the team is a disappointment or anything. They definitely are not. They're definitely playing great, and they're on top of almost on top of the East, but they do need to score some more goals. And considering that they have Luis Suarez and Leo Messi, who were 2 of the finalists for the Golden Boot last year, these guys both scored 20 goals last season, both of them. And the last few games, they have had trouble scoring. So that's going to be something to watch for sure. Coming up against Vancouver, it's going to be they're going to have to score against this team, because Vancouver does score. Vancouver scores a lot of goals.
Well, and that's something that Javier Mascherano talked about a little bit, even before they played Columbus at a recent practice. But he also talked about the whole, balancing act and why maybe some of these struggles are happening. Here's what he had to say.
Creo que si empezás a mirar, ya hemos pasado quizás un tercio de la temporada, donde nos hemos enfrentado a rivales como Charlotte, que creemos que va a pelear, como Atlanta, que más allá de no tener un buen presente por la calidad de jugadores, creemos que va a pelear. Hemos enfrentado a LAFC, ahora nos llega Columbus. Es decir, hemos ido pasando pruebas. El equipo siempre ha competido, que es lo que nos genera tranquilidad. A veces hemos estado mejor, a veces hemos estado peor, pero el equipo compite. Y es eso de lo que nosotros no nos podemos desprender. Dar esa fiabilidad de que por más que tengamos un día malo, el equipo va a seguir compitiendo. Lo mismo el otro día con Chicago, quizás llegamos al partido de Chicago con una semana muy cargada, con mental y físicamente, y el equipo, más allá de todo, compitió hasta el último minuto. Nos han generado situaciones, pero hemos generado también muchas situaciones y lo podríamos haber ganado. Es decir, y es eso de lo que nos tenemos que agarrar, ¿no? Después, claramente, como digo siempre hay cosas por mejorar continuamente. Estamos en la búsqueda del crecimiento constante, pero creo que estamos bien posicionados, y el partido con Columbus es una nueva prueba para ver, para demostrar que tenemos que seguir siendo competitivos.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's like, he's talking about the different challenges they face. They actually have faced a lot of contending teams. I mean, the last part is because this was before the Columbus game, but he was talking about how, different challenges both in logistics and the teams. Charlotte's a contender, Atlanta's a contender, and they've faced different styles, different, and they're still sort of work in progress as they're starting to get more and more comfortable.
And he said that they always compete. Right. He was saying that they always compete, no matter what, whether they're playing better, whether they're playing better or not as well as they could. What he likes about the team is that they continue to compete. And yes, he said that they have been tested already against some of the best teams, and now they have also faced Columbus and beaten Columbus, which is one of the teams that's always a roadblock for them. They were able to beat them and come away with a road victory, 1-0 as it may be. They come back with a W from Cleveland, from 62,000 people. They came home with a victory, with the 3 points. So, fans, there's no reason to complain about this team. The only thing about concern that, they have improving to do, and it is a bit surprising, although maybe not, because Mascherano, the big thing he was going to bring is defense. And let's face it, the defense does seem to be playing better this year. I mean, you look at the way they're playing defensively, they are playing better than they were playing last year. If you combine that with the amount of scoring they were doing last year, that would be the perfect combination. They have struggled a little bit to score, and it may be that the other teams are starting to figure out ways to defend them a little bit. And Vancouver, things are definitely not getting easier. On Thursday night, 10:30 Eastern time, they are going to face the team that is the surprise of MLS this season. I mean, this is a team that no one really had in the, no one was talking about them before this season as a contender. They are now they're in, leading the Supporter Shield race. They're on top of the West. They have, they've scored 17 goals and allowed only 6. So they have a plus 11 goal differential, which also leads the league. And, it's a team, and this is without the team captain. Ryan Gold is out with a knee injury. This is one of their top players, a captain of the team. One of the top players has not been playing. And even so, that Vancouver team is really, really good. And they are with a brand new coach, Jasper Sorensen, who just came in, a Danish coach, like Mascherano, no experience whatsoever in MLS. This is a battle of the two new coaches in MLS who had no experience in MLS. This Danish coach shows up in Vancouver in January. Okay, similar. Mascherano, hired a little earlier, but Sorensen came in January, and basically in the matter of 3 months has turned this team into one of the top teams in the league. And he had no experience. And by the way, how good are they? They knocked off in Champions Cup to get to the semifinals. Now they knocked off the two of the top Mexican teams that were in the tournament, which was Monterrey and Pumas. And by the way, beat them on the road in Mexico at altitude.
Monterrey.
Okay? That is not
Monterrey, remember?
Monterrey.
We know what happened last year.
We know what happened last year. Inter Miami lost to Monterrey in a game that got all crazy, and they lost to them. And Vancouver beat Monterrey in Monterrey, beat Pumas in Mexico. That is very difficult at altitude. And then by the way, came off that quarterfinal game and goes and beats Austin 5-1 in the next game. 5-1, coming off an emotional Champions Cup win in Mexico. So this is a team that, again, like Columbus, does not have the star names. It doesn't have Messi, Busquets, Suarez, Alba, David Beckham ownership, glitz, glamour. Doesn't have that.
That game over Austin's the one where we had mentioned last week. Brian White, 4-goal game in that one.
Yeah,
so that is one of the big guys.
You have a player on your team who can score 4 goals in one game. That that's a dangerous team. And by the way, one of the other players on their team, you may know the last name, Sebastian Berhalter. Does that name sound familiar?
The son of the former USMNT boss.
Yes, right? The son of Chicago Fire.
Fire head coach who just played Miami the other day and a scoreless draw.
Yes, exactly. And so his son, you think they've had some conversations? His son, he is the son of Greg Berhalter. He's a midfielder. He's played very well. He's one of their top players. And Greg Berhalter found a way to hold Miami to a scoreless draw. And, I would think that father and son might have had some discussions.
Trade notes.
This Vancouver game, trade some notes with this game coming up. So this is a team that is extremely, extremely dangerous. And Miami is going to have to score. I don't think we'll never know. We won't know until after the game. Obviously, this is sports. But it's hard to believe that, 1 goal is going to be enough. And by the way, as always in Champions Cup, the away goals are extremely important in the aggregate scoring. Let's not forget. So if they don't get, if they score on the road, those goals are going to be more valuable. So they have their hands full. They have their hands full. Now, I don't know if you saw, there's been some whispers that Messi was limping a little bit at the end of the Crew game. I don't know. Mascherano just kind of talked it down. We have not had an opportunity. There has been no open training, and the team was headed to Vancouver on Wednesday. So we will not get to speak to Javier Mascherano until they're already in Vancouver for his pregame press conference. But I don't know. Did you see anything with Messi or hear anything?
Not any no more than you know. No more than you know. Let's put it that way. But his status is always a mystery, it seems, until like the last minute, and then we find out certain things happen. And unfortunately, all the way in Northwest Canada over there.
Yeah, and they're dying because I was getting emails from some of the reporters yesterday saying, because what happened last year, it was not good. It was not only that Messi didn't play, Suarez didn't play, Busquets, none of those three even traveled to that game because it was a busy time of the year, and Tata and I don't know who made that decision, but they didn't even travel to that game, and the decision was not announced. It wasn't announced until very late. It was announced when the MLS rule is that you have to announce. So it's not that they broke any rule. It's just that it came as a surprise that all three of those players were going to miss the game the day before when they announced the MLS injury list and who's not playing. The three of them were not playing, and the fans of Vancouver were really angry. And by the way, if anyone remembers watching that game, whenever Miami touched the ball, at least for the first portion of the game, every time Miami got possession of the ball, the whole place was booing. They were very upset. Now, again, should they be upset? They should be rooting for Vancouver. They are Vancouver fans after all. They should be rooting for Vancouver. But they wanted to see Vancouver play against Lionel Messi and Suarez and Busquets, and none of those three showed up. So that is a big storyline coming into this game, even though there's no indication that Messi is injured. Sometimes there's clues like he doesn't show up on the team's social media for the previous few days. I can tell you that the team has posted some pictures of training in the last 48 hours, and Messi was in the photo. So that's usually a little clue. It's usually a good sign. If you see Messi training, that's usually a good sign. If he all of a sudden disappears from the social media, that's a little bit of a clue, not always 100%. Don't go to the bank with it. Don't make your bets with it. But, I think that he's going to travel, and I think he's going to play. And, there's no indication that they're going to hold players back. We've already seen Javier Mascherano. Do you agree that he doesn't seem to be a guy who wants to hold players out?
No,
right?
I don't think
From
so.
what he's talked about.
If they're good to go, they're good to go. And especially at this type of game, where it's crucial and they know. I mean, look what happened with LAFC. They dropped the first one and then they don't want to fall into a massive hole like last time where they have to dig themselves out and score 3 times at home. We saw how much that took out of them, considering in the next game, it looked like they were kind of sleepwalking a little bit through the Chicago game, having to go on the road and all that. This time, the short
they
turnaround.
Needed a miracle. Yeah, they needed a miracle, and they got it. They got their miracle against LAFC, but are you going to get 2 miracles in 2 rounds? I don't think so. I think they really need to score. Yeah. They need to score in Vancouver.
Because if they can come out with a draw that includes goals, then they come out on top. Let's say it's 1-1 or 2-2, then they have a huge advantage at that point. So that's the tricky part with this aggregate system, that it's a draw, but technically you're ahead anyway, and it could be such a big advantage going forward into that second game. And then
the second, and then the second game is next Wednesday, back here at Chase Stadium, and the key is scoring goals. They got to score goals, but
they have, once again, this time at least it's not a road trip. They're both at home, but they have a short turnaround. You don't want this to happen just like Chicago again, where it's another disappointing draw. They got to come right back. And for those of you that might have not seen it yet, that game originally scheduled on the 26th, now on the 27th against Dallas at 5:00 at Chase Stadium. It's another league game. I mean, I know Dallas is right now looking like a borderline playoff team in the Western Conference, but look what happened against Toronto. Look what, that short turnaround, even at home, is tough bouncing back. And you don't know how they're all going to bounce back from a potentially exhausting game up in Vancouver, potentially intense,
and a long trip.
and
You're
a long
talking
trip.
about basically a
14 hours.
7-hour. Yeah,
Back
it's
and
a
forth.
7-hour back and forth. It's 14 hours on planes.
Right.
14 hours. Picture El Pistolero, his knees, those knees sitting for 7 hours each
He's not
way.
sitting for. I guarantee you, he's getting up a lot and walking around the plane there on that one. He ain't sitting for 7 hours.
Yeah, those are really long flights. 3-hour time difference. 3-hour time difference. And the game is Thursday night. So again, this is going to be a similar. This is a West Coast, but even farther, the farthest corner of MLS, Vancouver. For them to go all the way to Vancouver, the game is very, very late Thursday night, 10:30 Eastern time. It'll end at 12:30 a.m. Eastern time. Then they have their interviews, this and that. It'll be 2 a.m. Eastern time before they're getting on a plane. 7-hour flight. They're going to arrive on Friday late morning. They will arrive Friday late morning. They'll have the day off, half the day off, whatever's left of the day, which isn't much. And then they basically have Saturday, which normally would be sort of a recovery day. Forget recovery. There's going to be no recovery. They have to then at least do some kind of practice for the Dallas game, which is at 5 o'clock on Sunday.
Again,
now, I do think if there's going to be rotation,
right,
that Dallas game is going to be rotation. Maybe
for the umpteenth. Yeah, for the umpteenth time, here comes the lineup juggling for this game.
Yeah, I think the Dallas game, you never know. We said this before Toronto. I never thought in a million years that all those guys were going to play, and they did. But Drake Callender did start in goal in that game. And this game may be one also where they're thinking if Ustadi stays in goal because he's hot now, then they play Drake on Sunday against Dallas.
Right. This could be a Drake game. This could be a Drake game, and that way Ustadi goes both legs of the Vancouver double here, which is and then even that one. They play the game again Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, bam, you're right back in it, home side against Vancouver in, we don't know what situation they'll be in. They're hoping they won't be in the same situation as LAFC, but who knows?
Right. Yeah. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. Again, Vancouver, I'm looking forward to seeing them against this team. I think it's a really good barometer to see where this team is because Vancouver really came out of nowhere. Talk about coming out of nowhere. By the way, Fafa Picault, he is going to be highly motivated. He played for Vancouver last year. So he came here from Vancouver. Factor. He knows that team well. I am sure that he's also probably had some conversations, although Vancouver has a new coach. The Whitecaps, like I said, they're under a new coach. So it's not exactly the same team. And I am curious to see how Messi does, assuming that he plays. You know that he has played 5 games in a row now, and the last 4 games he played 90 plus. He played 90 plus minutes the last 4 games. So he's going full speed, full on for the last 4 games, going into this Vancouver game, assuming that he is doing okay physically, which we will find out more later. As far as we know, he's okay.
So far, so good. We'll see if we read the tea leaves right as far as social media posting and whatnot to see if Messi is going to play.
Oh, by the way, one more thing to throw in before we close out is that the 23rd of April, which is Wednesday, which is now today, the MLS trade window closes. So the window closes at midnight. And it is still very much expected that Julian Gressel is being shopped around. And again, I'm hearing that Atlanta is a place that he would like to land. He played there before. The word is, I think he may have even mentioned at some point, but the word is that, his wife, for his family, for family reasons, they don't want to go to the West Coast. They want to stay closer to the East. Atlanta is an organization that he's already played for, knows them well. They know him well. He's an expensive player, but he was a big deal in Atlanta. He was one of the team captains there. So anyway, by the time we speak again on this podcast, I think that Julian Gressel will have a new home because the truth is he's too good of a player to just not be playing. And he is not playing. He's not even made the game roster for Javier Mascherano for the last few games. He has not even been on the active roster. So he's clearly not in the team plans. He needs to find somewhere where he can contribute. He's a guy who's, a leader type player. He's been in the league forever. He's a valuable player. And I'm sure somebody is going to pick him up, and he will be extremely hungry to show what he can do, because so far here, he really has not had a chance to show what he can do. He really has not even had a chance to go in games. His style of the guy who runs up the sideline and crosses the ball in, that's apparently not in Mascherano's plans.
Well, to follow up on that and to close this out, just a reminder, we are recording this as of Wednesday morning. So if Julian Gressel or any other moves with this team before the deadline, go check out MiamiHerald.com. Michelle will have it there in writing to catch up on it. But that's why you're not seeing it talked about in detail on the show. But it will be next week in our next edition of Inside Inter Miami. So until then, we thank you all for watching. Thanks. Remember, catch us on YouTube. Catch us at MiamiHerald.com. Same goes if you can only listen to it there, or Spotify or your favorite podcatchers. Most of them at this point pretty much have us. So again, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Enjoy the games this coming weekend, and we'll talk some more Inter Miami soccer next week.